Hello and welcome to all. Sadio Mané is undoubtedly one of the best footballers of his generation, and it is certainly not the Liverpool fans who will tell you otherwise. Indeed, it is largely thanks to him that the Reds have been able to achieve the exploits of recent years, and it must be said that his departure from Bayern after 6 years of good and loyal service has left a gaping hole in the team, a hole that is difficult to fill. Because Sadio Mané is one of those rare players who are practically irreplaceable and whose presence alone during a match can make the difference in the final score. But despite his record of achievements to make the greatest footballers envious, as well as his worldwide fame, Sadio Mané is a very modest and reserved athlete and remains very far from the stereotype of the footballer bling bling. The 30-year-old Senegalese player is indeed very humble and very human, does not flinch from the task, however dirty it may be when it comes to helping his fellow man. The fabulous story of Sadio Mané began one beautiful spring day in a small village of Middle Casamance in southern Senegal. The young boy was born on April 10, 1992, and although his family lived in total poverty, his birth was a great joy for both his parents. Little Sadio grew up in the midst of a loving and caring family, and despite the few resources they had, pure and unspeakable happiness reigned in the family home. At an early age, the young boy discovered a real passion for soccer, and as he grew older, his unconditional love for the game only grew with him. Little Sadio spent most of his days outside, playing with his village friends with a makeshift ball and shoes that were worn down to the sole and patched up hundreds of times. The games could nevertheless last for hours, so much the little Sadio had fun with his friends to the great displeasure of the father, who certainly did not see the leisure of his young son in a very good light. Sadio's father, a village imam, would have preferred that his son spent more time studying science and religion instead of kicking a ball around. But it must be said that with the ardor of age and the burning passion of soccer, the reproaches of the father and his lessons of morals fell directly into the ears of a deaf person. The little Sadio Mané, who had reached the ungrateful age of adolescence, swore by soccer and dreamed of only one thing: to become one day a great international footballer. It is on that, by seeing him playing on the waste grounds of the village, one could not but notice how much this young boy was gifted with a ball. His technical gestures, his pace, his way of running, and even his walk and the way he positioned himself on the field. Everything about him breathed the future champion. All those who had seen him play the ball knew that they were facing a footballer with exceptional qualities, and that it was very likely that one day he would become the equal of a Roger Milla or a George Weah. But before becoming the new standard-bearer of African soccer, the young Sadio Mané still had to convince his dear father to let him try his luck in a soccer club in Dakar. The old village imam finally saw a reason when he realized that his young son was ready to do anything to realize his dream, including running away from home without giving any news. At the age of 15 and a bit, the young boy went to Mbour, the biggest soccer city in Senegal, where all the young talents of Senegalese soccer were meeting. The city is also teeming with recruiters and talent scouts, all looking for the rare pearl and the future African champion. The young boy impressed during the tests, demonstrating an almost breathtaking level of play, and it is therefore quite natural that he is noticed by the headhunters always on the lookout. Sadio Mané was then recruited by AS Generation Foot, a club from the capital Dakar, which is part of the Generation Foot program, and which will open the doors of Europe to him. Indeed, after season 2010-2011, more than satisfactory, where Sadio Mané will recover the AS Generation Foot and lead it into the second division of Senegal. The young man will see himself open other horizons even further. Seduced by his style of play and his agility on the field, FC Metz decided to bring him to France to play for them. However, despite a few promising beginnings, the young footballer will have a really hard time making a place for himself in the team, most probably because of the disarray and the upheaval of his private life. The young native of Casamance was now very far from his virgin forests and his native village, and his move to Metz in a cold and completely unaccustomed environment was not really a little fun. As if that wasn't enough, the young player was suffering from a very painful pubalgia, which made his life a real ordeal, but which he did everything to hide from others, fearing that he would be left out of the team until he was cured. Mané's results were therefore felt, but the fabulous destiny of Sadio Mané was soon to take him to new adventures and new horizons. The young footballer had managed to catch the eye of the renowned Austrian club Red Bull Salzburg, which saw the enormous potential of Sadio Mané and did not hesitate for a second to pay a small fortune to acquire him. The prestigious Austrian club will thus be brought to take out some 4 million euros from its purse, making this transfer the third largest compensation in the history of FC Metz. But it is certain that the Red Bull Salzburg did not have to regret its expenditure, since Sadio Mané will prove to be a major asset within the Austrian selection of the club. The young Senegalese is indeed a real war machine on the field, as effective in attack as in defense, and terribly formidable when he is placed as a winger. He finished the 2013-2014 season as top scorer of his club and became the new darling of the Red Bull Salzburg fans. But his talent and explosiveness, which only blossomed day by day, took him to a whole new level of professionalism. Indeed, Sadio Mané was going to have to pack his bags and leave for England, where the mythical club of Southampton was waiting for him impatiently. The Saints, as they are called in Great Britain, had indeed paid a little more than 15 million euros to sign him. Freshly arrived in the English Premier League, the young Sadio Mané will soon cause sparks until he ignites the whole English Championship. The Reds of Liverpool then tried everything, making Southampton an offer they could not refuse. On June 28, 2016, Sadio Mané signed a 5-year contract with Liverpool, with a transfer fee of no less than 36 million euros. From the outset, the young Senegalese becomes the second most expensive player in the history of the club, just behind Andy Carroll, which is a feat that he would never have expected when he was playing soccer in his native village, with pierced shoes and a leather ball patched. The past was far behind him when poverty and destitution were his and his family's daily life. During his incredible rise to the top of European and English soccer, the young Senegalese managed to pocket a very nice sum of money, which guarantees him a life free of need. It is estimated that the total fortune of Sadio Mané would be around $30 million, a huge sum for someone who played soccer barefoot. Of course, we do not even count the future emoluments he will receive at Bayern Munich, with which he has just signed a contract for 3 seasons and which will bind him with the German club until 2025. The Bayern having paid no less than 40 million euros to sign him, we can say that the Bavarian club will have used the big means. The salary of Sadio Mané at Bayern is not yet known, although some rumors, rather credible, speak of an amount of about 20 million euros per year. The fortune of the young native of Casamance is therefore far from stagnating during the next few seasons, quite the contrary, because with this transfer and this new salary, it will probably be multiplied. But this fortune is far from having turned the head of the young footballer, who has kept his head on his shoulders and his feet on the ground. Because unlike most other players of his age and size, Sadio Mané is far, very far even from being a vain flammer, who spends his money faster than he earns it. The young Senegalese is not one of those immoderate wasters, who show off with prestigious Swiss watches and who drive big, shiny motorcycles. In fact, all of England knows that their beloved Sadio Mané is the opposite of the bling-bling and the mas-tuvu that so many other players with less talent than him have adopted as their way of life. The daily life of the Senegalese star will amaze you by its simplicity, because despite his millions of dollars, Sadio Mané has remained the humble young man who does not forget his very modest origins. And considering the efforts made by the young footballer to help his people, one cannot say that he is amnesiac or ungrateful by nature indeed. For if Sadio Mané is far from being an inveterate flammer, one cannot say that he is stingy with his relatives and the inhabitants of his village, whom he has showered with gifts and favors since his rise to the top of world soccer. The young man has built schools and soccer stadiums for the youth of his home village and has taken several families under his wing, regularly distributing money, food, and clothing. Sadio Mané's religious fervor and love for Islam are legendary, and he demonstrates this by being as generous as possible, as his father, the Imam, once taught him. The star of the round ball did not hesitate to make the maximum of possible donations, in money of course, but sometimes also gift of himself, as when he was taking a photo cleaning the toilets of the mosque where he made his prayer. It was difficult to be more modest or more religious, especially with his extremely calm and conciliatory character, which gave him a very powerful charisma and nobility that seemed to halo him with its aura. At 30 years old today, the Senegalese player still has a lot of good days ahead of him, and Bayern Munich is fully satisfied with its new player, which we imagine that it will not part so easily in 2025. The Bavarian club will certainly want to extend the contract of Sadio Mané, but this will undoubtedly be done under the scrutiny and vigilant eye of the eagles of European soccer, Barca and Real, who have been eyeing the Senegalese for some time now. But let's not jump the gun and anticipate too much on the events, because soccer is a sport where everything remains possible, as everyone knows so well. However, the 2022 World Cup to be held in Qatar is fast approaching, and we are only a few months away from the start of the most popular sports festivities on the planet. All eyes will be on Sadio Mané during this World Cup, and he will face a lot of pressure. Now, tell us in the comments what you think about the incredible and fabulous soccer epic of Sadio Mané, which led him from the forests of Casamance to the most prestigious European lawns. Don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another of our videos.